Welcome back to the Union Edge Labor's Talk Radio. I'm Brittany Sheets, and I've got a crew of friends here with me, Angela Bachman.
Hey, Brittany.
And Laura Weens.
It's great to be with you.
And joining us right now, we've got Admiral Joe Sestak. He is running for Senate. Admiral, welcome back to the show.
No, it's great to be back again. Thanks.
It's great to have you. Thanks for taking the time to come talk to us today.
Always.
So something we wanted to discuss with you is you've released some ideas of what you would like to see happen in the category of homeownership, home foreclosure, trying to get some young people out there to buy houses, and you've got some really cool ideas about that. Would you like to tell us a little bit more?
This is an important point because 77% of Americans say that part of the American dream to them is owning a home, and we're at the lowest home ownership in the last 20 years in America. So much devastation was done during the recent recession because people lost savings, and the youth, when they're graduating from college, are burdened with debt. In fact, a major driver of why home ownership is so low is because the youth burdened with debt. First-time buyers is also something that has dropped about 6 or 7%. And so the policy proposals that I'd like to talk about here are those that can spur, particularly first-time buyers like our youth, into getting back in, which will drive up the prices a bit of houses so that those who still have the mortgage costing more than the price of the house if they were to sell it actually are going to get a decent price. So I'd like to talk, if it's all right, a couple of those proposals.
Yeah, definitely.
We're young. We want to buy houses.
Well, first thing is that we got to step back and recognize in the next 10 years, because the interest rate the government charges on student loans is so high, the government's going to make $129 billion off the back of our students. In other words, if they lowered the interest rate, we can actually have $129 billion given back to students over the next 10 years so they have more money to purchase homes or other items. And presently, we base the interest rate on the 10-year Treasury bond. Because students are paying back the loans much later in life, a large cohort doesn't pay it off for 25 years. Well, if we established the interest rate on both the 10 and the 30-year Treasury bond, that more looks about the time frame that people pay it back. The government will make no money and not lose any money, and the interest rate for students would be cut exactly in half. That's idea policy proposal number one. Second, in the GI Bill, we did something unique. We said that if someone's coming home and they're 45 years old from the war, they qualify for going to a college, but they've already been to college, they can give the GI Bill to their children to use. We should do the same thing for parents. They want to withdraw money, as they're allowed to, early from the IRA that they have been saving up for. We should permit them, they pay a tax when they withdraw it, to be able to take that $15,000, that's what we should permit them to do, and give it to their children. Let's give it to them, gift it to them with no additional tax in order that they can have a down payment. Again, it's a great idea and no cost to the government, and then spurs money into the hands of the youth so they can purchase a house. And one last idea for our youth is that we should be given a tax credit like we did in the economic stimulus bill of about $5,000. And say you buy a house sometime in the first 10 years, you get a tax credit of $5,000. Again, putting money in the youth, and we can pay for it by stopping what I think both Republicans and Democrats believe is so un-American, permitting what's called inversion. Just like a recent pharmaceutical company said, I'm going to let myself be bought 20% by a foreign company so I don't have to do $1 billion of taxes. If we stop that, it's about $16 billion the government saves, and we can use that exact amount, which is what we did in the economic stimulus bill, that amount, not to put anything to our debt. So those three policy proposals spur people who are first-time buyers, the youth who are burdened with debt, by relieving their ability to be burdened with money in their hand to purchase a home. Win-win for the individual, win for the economy and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Joe, are you proposing that the $5,000 tax credit just go to folks that are recently graduated from college, or also to other first-time home buyers?
We did the analysis, and what we propose is that $5,000 goes to first-time buyers anytime from the first decade they graduate. But if you are somebody, let's say, 40 years old, all of a sudden you want to do it, a $4,000 one. Because right now, the youth, the first-time buyers, are the ones burdened with debt. And number two is it's first-time buyers, those first 10 years, that has dropped so precipitously. And that's usually the spur. So we divide it up more fairly by saying they're the ones who get $5,000. The others can get $4,000 credit. And when you work out the numbers, it'll be about $16 billion paid for by this inversion being stopped of letting pharmaceutical companies and others pretend they're purchased by a foreign company. It's only 20% is. And then billions of dollars are not given to our Treasury. I think that's absurd.
And when you say from 10 years from when they graduate, do you mean from high school?
10 years after they graduate from college.
From college. So if you're not a college graduate, then you only get the $4,000?
Then you can qualify for the $4,000 one because, again, you won't be one of the ones that are burdened with debt.
Okay.
So the $5,000 goes to those that are burdened on an average of about $29,000 of debt. And the $4,000 one can be someone who graduates from high school, and a few years later they would like to purchase a home, and they get a $4,000 tax credit. But they're less burdened with that debt that someone is graduating from college.
So, Admiral, it sounds like these are really helpful policies for folks that are graduating from college saddled with student debt, particularly student debt that comes from government loans. Do you have any thoughts on how we could address the cost of interest on non-governmental loans?
Yes. This is an important point. There's a program called the Affordable Refinance Plan, HARP. And what we need to do with that is actually begin to make it easier for people to refinance. So, for example, those who are underwater, and that's about 15, 16% of all homes in America, because of the recession, their mortgage is actually cost them more than the value of their house. If they were to sell their house for $100,000, their mortgage might still be $120,000 because the value of the house stops so much. We should, which we don't presently, permit them to refinance under the HARP program for lower interest rates. I think it's absurd that we do not. Now, they need to have a good credit rating, but even that, we can let them permit. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you miss one payment, let's say in 6 months, then they still should be permitted to do that.
I was reading this. You guys sent out just an informational email with your campaign, and I was actually reading about these ideas yesterday. And as a young individual myself, I graduated about a year and a half ago or so. I know with my student debt, I'm in no position in the next probably at least 5+ years to even think about buying a house. But at the same time, it's kind of nice to know that, these are options that if something does change, then I can look into something like this. And there might be, these programs kind of did previously exist, but if they're reinstated per se, I might have more of a shot of doing something like that.
Absolutely right. The idea here is that government can help facilitate opportunity for people. And it doesn't even add to the debt. It's just common sense that parents are able to give money that's already been taxed to their parents if they want to. That government should not be making $130 billion on the backs of our students by too high of interest rate loans. This just takes simple analysis and then the ability to get it through. And here's the real value. We all benefit because when a young couple goes in and buys a home, they also are going to buy draperies, blinds. They're going to maybe get the kitchen remodeled. They're going to the lawnmower, and all of a sudden the retail business picks up. This last recession, so you know, and you probably do, is the only recession in America that's never been let out in modern history by the home industry. Every other recession, it was the generation again of people buying homes that let us out of the recessions that we had, because when people buy a home, they're also going out to buy a lawnmower.
Yeah, but
Joe, it didn't happen.
Do you think that that's because home ownership was the cause of this recession?
Absolutely. The issue was it wasn't home ownership.
Well, no, but itself. The purchase.
Yeah, right. It was the fact that, for example, that 83% of the subprime mortgages, those that are not prime, that means that they're kind of risky, were being given by private companies that were not under any rules or regulations to make sure that creditworthy people were buying these mortgages, at homes with these mortgages. And 50% of all homes that went into foreclosure were from these subprime mortgages. Yes. And because the housing industry was just devastated, it was like putting a wet lid on the industry. and just letting it sink to the bottom of the ocean, it took so long for it to come back. And so you're absolutely right. That's the reason.
All right, Joe. Well, we are actually out of time already. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're out and about. You've got walks, you've got events, you've got people to talk to, and we're going to let you go.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, I'll just be getting out of the car now and making at the World Affairs Council in Philadelphia. And that's why it's great to speak to you out there in Pittsburgh. I'll be making a speech about the change we need based upon my heading the Navy's anti-terrorism unit in our strategy towards ISIS. So, because that actually affects us here at home. As you well know, that tragic misadventure in Iraq has cost us trillions of dollars. And so that's why we need people down in the Senate who actually understand both how our national security is here at home in home ownership and things like that, but our national security overseas, we've got to have people who understand that militaries can stop a problem, but we don't fix a problem. So be careful how you use us. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, Joe. We really appreciate it. We've been talking to Admiral Joe Sestak, who's running for Senate. I'm Laura Weens. You've been listening to the Union Edge Labor's Talk Radio.